Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give away in charity, should be done as an offering to me. So this is changing the account. We get the example of the teller in the bank. He's counting so much money comes through his hand, but he doesn't claim it, this is mine. So similarly, we should go through life like that. We should think that nothing is mine, mere mama, but I have some, you can say, trusteeship over certain things. And if I use those things and my energy for the pleasing Krishna, then we don't have to renounce it, like money. We don't say just throw money on the street or something, no. Use it in Krishna's service, and then it becomes, I remember hearing Prabhupada say, you like to do business, that's good, make millions of dollars and use it in Krishna's service. So nothing is renounced, but the sense that I'm the proprietor, I'm the enjoyer, I'm the controller, those things we renounce. The conception that, which is false. We're not the controller, we're not the proprietor. Everything belongs to God, Ishavashyam. So all we have to do is get in touch with the reality. What is our actual position? And then we'll become humble, and everything will follow. Krishna will be pleased with us. If Krishna is pleased with us, then our future is very bright. Just like Sanjay says at the end of the Gita, wherever there is Krishna in Arjuna, there'll always be victory, morality, every good thing will come by the simple stroke, one stroke of putting Krishna in the center. Sometimes we give the example of the goldsmith and the blacksmith. The goldsmith is tapping, tap, 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 tap. The blacksmith, with one stroke, he can accomplish more. So the one stroke of Bhakti Yoga, if we're able to take it up, and it's a natural position, just like it's natural for the hand to serve the whole body. So it's natural for us as particle of Krishna, Amsa, we're the particle, to complement the whole. But we also have a standing, not like the impersonalists claim that we have nothing, that we become zero or something. No, we have a position. That's the first teaching of the Gita. Krishna tells Arjuna, you and I and all these kings, we've always existed in the past as individuals. Now we're also individuals. Krishna is also an individual. And in the future, we'll also be individuals. Individual means we have our own personality, our own position. So the Buddhists or others, they want to remove any conception of ego. But we say no, ego means identity. We do have an identity, but that identity is we're servant of the servant of the servant of God, or Krishna. And anyone who is preaching that, whether Muhammad or Christ, then we appreciate that. We don't ridicule them. We don't, find fault. Let them also approach God in their own way. But we can see practically, it's a science. How you're approaching God, we can understand scientifically. The first qualification is that you're always talking about God. Not that you're claiming to be a Brahmin and God conscious, but you're always talking about the stock market or the politics. There's an interesting story about politics because this political season is just now coming to an end. I guess. I mean, it's hard to know. But Prabhupada also was very much involved in politics before he met his spiritual master. He was a Gandhi follower. And, he had taken some renunciation. He didn't get his graduate certificate because he was against the British system. And he was wearing kadi and so on. But then when he met his spiritual master told him that him and his friends were there, that you are intelligent boys, English-speaking boys, you should preach this message of Lord Chaitanya to the Western world. But Prabhupada objected. He confronted his spiritual master. Who will listen to us? We're a dependent nation. So let us first of all get independence, then we'll think about preaching all over the world. Then people will respect us. But now we're a dependent nation, so first we should get independence from the British, and then we'll consider. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, our spiritual master, then he began to preach to him. He's saying, no, the priority should be to make spiritual progress. So making spiritual progress is not dependent on who's in political power. That should be our first priority. that we accept everything favorable for our own Krishna consciousness and reject everything unfavorable. So they spoke like that for some minutes. There was no tape recorder or anything, but Prabhupada just told us. And Prabhupada said, I was convinced by his argument that Atata Brahma Jigyasya, we should take the Krishna consciousness or spiritual life as the priority, as the first consideration, because we're in an awkward position. Whether Trump is there or Biden or whoever, they're not going to solve our problem. First, we should solve our problem. Why am I in this cycle of birth and death? Why do I have to I'm subjected to so much trouble from other living entities, from the nature, from my own mind and body, from other living, I mentioned. Why do I have to go through old age, disease, and death? So these are the real problems that we see every day, and they cause us anxiety. Death is all around us. I just got word, another friend of mine from our Krishna conscious movement left his body recently. So this is inevitable, but I don't want it. Nobody wants to die. So why not solve this problem first, rather than put so much pride. We don't say you can't get involved in politics, but it shouldn't be the first priority. First priority, they're making it the first priority. Then they go on the street and kill each other, isn't it? So that kind of fervent is a fanaticism. Real intelligent person won't be a fanatic. He'll use everything, with a cool head. Prabhupada used to use that word. Do everything cool-headedly. In other words, come to the mode of goodness, and then you can ascertain what is what. And yeah, you can vote, that's okay, but don't make it such an important thing that you're ready to kill people because of it. Okay, I'll stop. Any questions, comments? We can read the verse again. So Krishna's talking about those who actually are devotees. He says to Arjuna, the devotee quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly, my devotee never perishes. So in the previous verse where Krishna was seen to be, you can say, even contravening the moral standard that a devotee should be saintly, but Krishna is saying even if he commits abominable activity, still he should be considered saintly. So I know Maggie brought this point up the other day, a few meetings back. It seems contradictory. In the name of God, you can be a big hypocrite. And it's true, you can be a big hypocrite in the name of God. But then you won't be considered as a devotee, not by the spiritual master. The spiritual master is the one who blesses you and helps you to come to Krishna. But if you cheat your spiritual master, you're only cheating yourself. So this is the point that Krishna's making, that even though we may do something abominable, but if we're sincere to be a devotee of Krishna, then we'll become quickly righteous. Purport. Who's going to read?
Purport. This should not be misunderstood. In the 7th chapter, the Lord says that one who is engaged in mischievous activities cannot become a devotee of the Lord. One who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualifications whatsoever.
So let's stop right there, because that seems a little radical. I know when I was first coming across this point, when I was coming to Krishna consciousness, I thought this was a little fanatical, that has no good qualifications whatsoever. So how is that? Because they may have good qualifications, but then according to time, according to the influence of nature, that will change. One will come into the mode of goodness, and then again passion, then again ignorance. Nobody can maintain that goodness because the whole material world is full of quarrel and hypocrisy, especially in the Kali Yuga. So in that sense, only a devotee is doing something substantially good that he'll get eternal credit for. Otherwise, you can do good work. Let's say you say, oh, they're very good people, they've opened hospitals and so on. But on the other side, they may be encouraging animal slaughter without knowing that animals also have souls, and I should give up this. In other words, without being a devotee, you won't know the principles of religion. I think that's the main thrust of this point that Prabhupada is making. Go ahead.
The The question remains then, how can a person engaged in abominable activities, either by accident or by intention, be a pure devotee? This question may justly be raised.
So Prabhupada is not saying we shouldn't question. We're not looking for blind followers. We're looking for independently thoughtful persons. Go ahead.
The miscreants, as stated in the 7th chapter, who never come to the devotional service of the Lord, have no good qualifications, as is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Generally, a devotee who is engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional activities is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination from the heart.
So in this regard, sometimes an example is given. If somebody's in the shower and they're seriously trying to get clean, then you won't criticize them, oh, I see some dirt on your foot. Because okay, they're taking the process, they're in the shower. So similarly, if one is sincerely practicing Krishna consciousness, then we should give the benefit of the doubt that they'll become purified. They're taking the process for purification. Go ahead.
He puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. According to the Vedas, there is a certain regulation that if one falls down from his exalted position, he has to undergo certain ritualistic processes to purify himself. But here there's no such condition because the purifying process is already there in the heart of the devotee due to his remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare should be continued without stoppage. This will protect a devotee from all accidental fall downs. He will thus remain perpetually free from all material contaminations.
Okay. So Maggie, you were the one who brought this up originally. And Prabhupada says it's a good question. You have a right to ask this kind of question. And if we see that devotee is being a hypocrite and he's cheating, he's saying one thing, that we should follow, no illicit sex, but he's having illicit sex, then of course we have a right to call him out. We can understand that he's not really a devotee and he's just using. Sometimes our Bhakti Vinod Thakur used to say the Kali Chala. Kali Chala means the follower of Kali or Kali Yuga. So he may be wearing tilak and have neck beads, but it's just a show. We've all seen that in other religions also, that people take the religion for their own selfish reason, and they're not really interested in putting God in the center. So those kind of people, they don't remain. Like I've been in this movement for some time, and I've seen so many people come and go. Those who leave, they're not really sincere to take the process. And those who remain, you see over the years that they are sincere. Otherwise, how can they go on with it for so many years? Because there is some austerity involved. So Maggie, it's okay?
Yes, I was just thinking it's some of it seems to be about the intention, and if you kind of fall along the way, that's okay. Is that what it's kind of saying? If you make mistakes, as long as you're still making progress.
Well, as long as you pick yourself up and again come to and feel ashamed and try to again come to improve yourself and don't just take it as something that you're too ready to excuse yourself. You should feel ashamed that I did something wrong and now I'm making a vow I'm not going to do it again. I remember even in Christianity, when we were going to the church, we had to make confession, and we had to resolve not to again commit this activity. So that should be our resolve. And if it goes on, and then we can see that we're living with a cheater. Our own mind is cheating us. The mind is not our friend because it's giving us this excuse, hypocritical excuse, that we're devotees, and so we can go on committing sin, and we'll be forgiven. So then we can. You have to be.
If it happens time and time again, then obviously you're not acting in good faith. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. So as long as you acknowledge that you've done something wrong
and sincerely try to improve. Do you have an altar behind you?
Oh, I've got my. Can you see it?
Yeah, now I can see it. Oh, it's Kali?
It's
Durga?
Durga Ma. Yes.
And Krishna and Ganesh.
And Ganesh, yes.
So you're from Indian culture, Indian family?
My parents are from India.
Oh.
Yeah, my mother and father.
They
were born in India, and they came to England in the 60s.
I see.
So yeah, they're both from India.
I was in England in the 60s. Prabhupada sent me there in 1969. Okay. We were living at John Lennon's estate.
Okay.
The Beatles. We met the Beatles there. Actually, we made a record. I mean, I didn't make it, but the devotees did, and I also took part in. I was playing the cartels on one side of the record with what was the name of their record company? Apple?
Apple, I think it was.
Yeah. And then we stayed at John Lennon's estate for some time. He had an estate in Tittenhurst. And Prabhupada lived there with us. And then, of course, at that time, the Beatles were kind of breaking up. Anyway. Anyone else? Comments, questions?
Yeah, you mentioned that it's good to question. So is it good to question all the time?
So unless the answer is given.
I mean, even without answer or not answer, just keep questioning all the time. Is it good?
No, I mean, you should. Prabhupada didn't like that. I remember the devotee would ask a question, and then he'd ask the second question, and Prabhupada would stop and say, "So you've understood the answer to the first question?" And then the devotee's mind would maybe go off. No, he said, first of all, understand this point. Have you understood it properly? So he was very careful that we understand, not just question. The question should be given. If we have a real doubt about something, then it should be relieved. The questioning is also a form of doubt. And so it says, for the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this life or the next. So the Guru's job is to remove our doubts. Then we say, okay, thank you. There may be another question will come.
So what if somebody like me, it will become a why all the time? Then how the...
Yeah, the answer is, it said that a fool can ask more questions than a wise man can answer. Then we can see they're not sincere. Let's be sincere about what we're trying to do. We're trying to come to the right understanding. The word is Siddhanta. Siddhanta means conclusion. So what is the conclusion? There has to. Then, in other words, just like in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna had so many questions, so many doubts. Then after some time, he said, now my doubts are removed. Now I understand. Now I surrender to you. So that should be the conclusion. The Guru or can remove our doubts. Therefore, we should accept. It may take a long time, but we need some shelter. We're just why we're attracted to marriage, because we feel there'll be shelter in the family, somebody who will love me and help me and so on. So we create a family. But then we find that the family doesn't really protect us. Ultimately, the disease is coming, death is coming, but nobody can profess it. There's a verse like that in the Bhagavad, that we surround ourselves with family members thinking they'll protect us. And the reason we do that is because we're crazy. They can't protect us. We came into the world alone, and we go out of the world alone. We fly the solo flight, just like people are learning how to fly an airplane. Ultimately, they have to learn how to fly by themselves. That's the goal. So similarly, we can get help from so many different parts. Sometimes another example we give: a bird's flying in formation. So they have a leading bird, and they all follow that leading bird, but they have to flap their wings. The leading bird can't come back and say, "Okay, I'll help you flap your wings." No, you have to flap your wings. This is a part of being an individual, eternally an individual. That we've come to this material world because of our own misuse of independence and by our desire to put ourselves in the center. So we want to go back to the spiritual world. We have to do it by our desire. We have to want to go back to the spiritual world. We have to want to put God in the center. That's the definition of spiritual world. In the spiritual world, everyone agrees to put God in the center. Therefore, there's harmony. Whereas in the material world, there's always conflict because everyone loves himself the most. Anyone else?
But Swamiji, I have a question.
Yeah.
Isn't like Bhagavad Gita, almost the whole book is written in a way like as a questions and answers. Like Arjun has so many questions, and Krishna is kind of very patiently and in detail answering every single one of those questions.
Yeah, but that opportunity
Inquiry should be considered as a good thing, right?
Yeah, it's good to ask questions, but again, in the 10th chapter, we'll see that Krishna says, text 12, if you want to turn to it, chapter 10, text 12, then Arjun says, now I accept everything that you said. He accepts it. Then there's no more question. Yeah. After that, he accepts, yes. Param Brahma, Param Dhamma. You are the supreme. Not only you're saying it, but all the great sages have said it. Therefore, let me surrender to you. So that's the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. And again, Krishna reiterates that in the 18th chapter. He says, just give up everything, surrender to me. And in this chapter also, 9th chapter, we're going to read where Krishna tells Arjuna, just become my devotee. Then all the questions will be removed. This is also mentioned in the 10th chapter. Tesham sarata yuktanam vajatam pritipurvakam the dami buddhi yogam tam yena mamuti antiyate. He says that I will give you the intelligence that you can come to me. So if Krishna is giving us the intelligence, then we won't have any more questions. The only question will be, how can I serve you, my Lord? What is the best way I can serve? What will be most pleasing to you?
Yeah, once one fully understands, then kind of all the doubts disappear and naturally lead to devotion.
That's right. So what are we waiting for? Speaking of waiting for, now I suggested last week that we have this meeting twice a week. I don't know if once a week is enough. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says we should regularly hear this message in association with others and question, like we're doing. And then, in this way, by regularly attending the satsang, then we'll be convinced. Once a week, why not make Sanjay is playing golf on Saturday morning. How about Sunday morning?
I'm open.
Sunday morning, what's a good time? 10, 11?
Between 9, 10, yeah.
Okay, you decide, Sanjay.
Okay.
If we have to for the boss, although we managed to get started today without you.
Yes. I took a little longer nap today.
Okay, so 9:30 then?
9:30 is good.
So anybody wants to join with us, Sanjay and I, and hopefully Michael will be there. Everyone else is welcome. Sunday morning, 9:30.
Okay.
Put it in your calendar. So we'll click on the same link and we'll be able to come?
Yep. Yes, it'll be okay.
All right. So even if just the three of us are there, but certainly more people are welcome, and others your friends or someone who maybe not be available in the evening like this, but maybe on a Sunday morning they'd be available. So please invite whoever you think would be.
Maharaj, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj. So, no, I've been actually on the phone. I was a little bit late, same as Sanjay ji. But I did mention to Sanjay ji, I think we're going to make a flyer. We did discuss about this thing last month. We'll make a flyer and send it to everybody and post on the Facebook as Sanjay ji post everything. So keep the same timing so more and more people can join. So
We want to keep this timing, but we want to add another time also.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, the Sanjay ji actually, we use a flyer in ISKCON. Same flyer. I did send it to Sanjay ji before. I can send it to him again. We can actually modify the flyer and send it back to everybody. And
Well, it's good if we get them to all come Wednesday night, just like now. But then when we're here together on Wednesday night, we can also say we decided to meet Sunday morning also. Anybody's like to, they're welcome to join. I mean, it's not like we have hundreds of people coming.
Perfectly fine, sir.
We'd like to increase it. I was suggesting before that why not get a speaking engagement for me on the television or radio or internet somehow. I'm open to go if anybody can find me a way to.
Yeah, I think I dropped the ball on that one. Let me work on that one actually. Since I have the network on that.
Yeah, we are working on it, but because of this Trump, Biden, and so many other things, we got distracted a little bit. But we'll get back to you on that one.
That's very nice. So should we do one more verse?
Hare Krishna Swamiji, I have a question.
Please.
Yeah. See, today I was teaching my son, and we do these sessions. It's about putting God in the center. But then when I was teaching him, when he's not listening, I got really mad, and I was like, this is where the real life. I'm not. Why am I getting mad? I don't know, but it keeps happening. So that's where the real life is, and this is. We want to.
Why do you get mad again? Tell us again.
So because he was not listening, and I'm like,
okay.
He was doing his schoolwork.
Stop. Now I want to talk now. Don't get me mad. I'm going to get mad at you if you don't listen.
Okay.
So the point is, we can't force anybody if they're not interested in the subject.
But same time, I mean, kids, they observe a lot. So if you keep doing it ourselves, then one day they'll come to you and they'll start doing it.
Therefore, we say example is the best preceptor.
Correct.
Yeah. If they see that we're enthusiastic about it and we don't want to miss it, oh no, I have to go now to discuss these things with the devotee, then they'll think, well, there must be something here. Why is my daddy so attracted? This is how Prabhupada taught us. He didn't come. When he came to America, he was very humble. He's living in the Bowery. Can you believe it? Yeah, I don't know. I lived in New York. The Bowery, I wouldn't even go in the car, and Prabhupada was living there. So he was very humble. He didn't force us. He didn't even talk about no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, until the devotees started asking him. So all he did was give prasadam and chant Hare Krishna, and then he just read something. He didn't. He wasn't at all demanding in the beginning. Then when the movement got started and then people were more serious, then he said, yes, if you follow these principles, you can make quicker advances. But there can't be, and bhakti is just the opposite of force.
Yes.
I have a comment on that.
Please.
Whoever asked that question. I found the same thing happening to me a while ago, and I found the answer in Bhagavad Gita itself. I don't remember the verse, but it was something like, I'm trying to find it. It was something like anger originates from unfulfillment of your own desire. Like if you have a desire to be listened to or...
Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajaguna Samudra. Yes,
it's either somewhere in second or third chapter somewhere. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the exact...
Dayato Visayam Pumsam, the second chapter.
Yeah, so you have to observe that it's your own desire, unfulfillment of your own desire which causes the anger. Like we get really mad when our desire
That's a
doesn't.
very good point.
Good. Yeah, exactly. My question was more about why am I getting angry? Not he will learn,
Yeah,
he will
yeah.
not learn, that
It's-
will happen.
Yes.
But why am I acting that way? That was my
So once you start observing that, then you will
Yes.
cool down. You will realize how foolish that is.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's a difficult thing, definitely.
Yes. So
One more thing is that one, like fear causes anger. So once we start removing all those, once we get more knowledge, then fears goes away. And one of the best things has been mentioned in this book, the light on yoga on first chapter. It's really good to read this book. There's completely it gives upsurds of whole things. It's summarized over there.
So fear is also a desire to live.
Correct.
Think about it. Yeah.
So,
it
yeah,
all
that
starts
verse-
with unfulfillment of desire, which is the root of anger.
That verse you're looking for is chapter 2, text 62. While contemplating the object of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises.
Yes.
262. And then the next verse also. From anger, complete delusion arises. From delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. Intelligence is lost, one falls down into the material world. The world.
Yeah. So it has a ripple effect. Like once anger takes over, then
Yeah.
a lot of other things happen.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for pointing that. Yeah.
yeah. So it's good, now I get it that I'm very attached to that his homework should be done soon. So I think that's what the attachment, it brings what you say, lust, and it brings the anger when it's not done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's actually lust that leads to anger
Yeah.
because we get frustrated. We're lusting after something and we don't get it, whether it's a woman or a position or whatever. Then we get angry. Why did they took this from me? Well, so
Good.
go ahead.
Correct. Okay. I will let this thought sink in.
That's good. So we're going to do time for another verse.
Yes, we do have. We have 20 minutes.
Mami parta vipasritya yepi su papayonaya striyo vaishatata sudras tepi anti param gatim. O son of Prita, those who take shelter of me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishya, Sudras, can attain the supreme destination. So this is a little controversial, but it doesn't have to be, because in Kali Yuga, everyone is born with not in a high birth. High birth, one of the qualifications of a high birth is that your parents, before they conceive you, they undergo some purification. During that time, before they go for sex life, they first purify themselves. Even in our movement, we're recommended to chant 50 rounds before they have sex life. And in other words, astrologically also, it should be calculated what is the best time to beget a child, so that in the kingdom, the ideal righteous king, the whole kingdom knew that the king and queen are having sex tonight at this time, because this is the most auspicious time to create a child. So just see how we've degraded in Kali Yuga. Who is doing like that? Have any of you think your parents first performed astrology and set aside a time the most auspicious and then begot you? No, we're all born more or less like cats and dogs, especially us Westerners, and maybe some of you from India still have some culture. But we were born by the Malechas. But this verse is pointing out, doesn't matter, we can still become devotees. Report?
It is clearly declared here by the Supreme Lord that in devotional service there is no distinction between the lower and the higher classes of people. In the material conception of life, there are such divisions, but for a person engaged in transcendental devotional service to the Lord, there are not. Everyone is eligible for the supreme destination. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that even the lowest, who are called chandalas, or dog eaters, can be purified by association with a pure devotee. Therefore, devotional service and the guidance of a pure devotee are so strong that there is no discrimination between the lower and higher classes of men. Anyone can take to it. The most simple man taking shelter of the pure devotee can be purified by proper guidance. According to the different modes of material nature,
I'd like to make a comment here that they can be purified by proper guidance, but that means they have to accept the guidance. I've seen, again, in my experience in this ISKCON movement for over 50 years, that a lot of people don't want to be guided. They may try it for a while, but then they realize that this is a lifelong commitment, and I have to always be alert to be Krishna conscious. I have to give up sense gratification. Then they give it up. So they're no longer being guided. And then, of course, we understand that whatever they did in that time, that's their credit, but it's not a guarantee because the living entity is always independent. He has his free will. And if he desires to give up Krishna consciousness, then nobody can check him. Go ahead.
according to the different modes of material nature, men are classified in the mode of goodness as Brahmins, the mode of passion as Kshatriyas or administrators, the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, Vaishyas or merchants, and the mode of ignorance, Shudras or workers. Those lower than them are called Chandalas, and they are born in sinful families. Generally, the association of those born in sinful families is not accepted by the higher classes, but the process of devotional service is so strong that the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord can enable people of all the lower classes to attain the highest perfection of life. This is possible only when one takes shelter of Krishna, as indicated here by the word Vyapashritya. One has to take shelter completely of Krishna. Then one can become much greater than the great Jnanis and Yogis.
So speaking about yoga, what is this book you're trying to sell us, Sanjay? What is?
I'm trying to sell light on yoga, although I won't get any money out of that. But is what's his name?
Who's the author?
Iyengar, yeah.
Iyengar. So again, the reservation we have is the yogis can become proud, just like Ambarish Maharaj. There's a story in Srimad Bhagavatam. Ambarish and Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni was the yogi. He was so powerful. He had like 50,000 disciples, all strict brahmacharis, but he became a little proud of his yoga power, his cities, and he insulted the devotee, Ambarish. So that's one of the danger of the yogis. They can become hard-hearted because they're doing austerity and they see nobody else is doing austerity, so I'm better than you. But a devotee doesn't have that danger because he's always thinking, I have no good qualification. It's only the mercy of my spiritual master that I'm able to accomplish anything. And we saw that was Prabhupada's mood. He was really, really humble. It wasn't artificial. He was really humble because he knew that his only qualification was he took the order of his spiritual master as his life and soul. That's what he told us. That's my only qualification, that I took my Guru Maharaj's order as my life and soul. So he always remained humble because he was always remembering his spiritual master and Krishna. But the yogis, the danger is you can become so expert in pranayama or something, then you'll start thinking, these people are so stupid. Look at them. They don't know anything. I mean, that danger's there. I'm just saying. Okay. Anyone else? Comment about this from the women or Vaishya or Sudras?
I have a comment from a Shudra here.
Speak clearly.
So, at the end of this purport, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that Its devotional service is so strong that the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord can enable people of all the lower classes to attain the highest perfection of life. So I feel like this is a good moment to mention that today is the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada,
Right.
which book we are reading right now. And we can see that he is the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord that can enable all of us to attain the highest perfection of life. It's like bittersweet to celebrate the disappearance day of the spiritual master, but even when they are leaving this manifest reality, they switch into the aprakrita nitya lila. So that means the unmanifest to our eyes, eternal pastimes of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada is such a great devotee that even though he's no longer physically present with us, in that way we can still take association of him through his instructions in the form of his books like Bhagavad Gita, and he also has, tapes and videos. And there are two ways of taking association from a saintly person. It's called Vani and Vapu. So Vani is when you are able to have, direct association with a person, be able to...
No, Vapu is when you have direct association.
Sorry, yes, thank you, Maharaj. So Vapu, you have direct personal association, you're able to speak with them and offer some service and have reciprocation in that way. But Vani can be even more important than this direct association. And Vani is when we take association through following instructions. So through reading books from great saintly people, like Srila Prabhupada, right now we can read his book, we're associating with him, but by actually following what he's instructing us, by taking his instruction, that way we can receive his blessings and we can serve him by following his instruction. So it's my, small, I always, it's hard to think of what to say on these days, but that's my small...
No, it was a very nice appreciation of Srila Prabhupada. Yes, he's empowered to help us all for at least for the next 10,000 years. I was in the car when Srila Prabhupada, we were coming back from a morning walk in Los Angeles, and Prabhupada was in the front with the driver, and there were three of us sannyasis in the back. And when we came back a different way, and the devotees didn't see us, but they were kind of waiting for Prabhupada to come. And they were on the street, and many of them were there. In Los Angeles, we practically own the whole street there, where our church is. And Prabhupada saw them all on the street waiting for him, and they didn't see him. And they had their bead bags and so on. And suddenly he spoke with full authority, full conviction from his heart. He said, as though he was alone. He wasn't talking to anybody. He said, they cannot check this movement. This movement will go unchecked for the next 10,000 years. So that's our prediction. Lord Chaitanya has predicted that this movement will be prominent for the next 10,000 years. There'll be a golden age of Kali Yuga, where more and more people will take up this process of chanting the holy name and refraining from sinful life. And even if 1% take it, we can make a big change in the face of the world. Okay, I think it's time. If there's any last question or comment?
I have just one final thing. So I know in this verse you explained there was no distinction between the lower and higher classes of people, but why does it say those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth? And it mentions women. Besides, are women considered? I mean, why would it mention women specifically instead of just the merchants and workers?
So the idea is, the first teaching of the Gita is we're not this body, we're the soul. So practically, it's harder for women to understand that. They're constructed psychologically and physically. The energy is like lower from the hips, wider hips, to bear the child. Then they have to be their DNA, whatever you want to call it, is there to protect the child. And they have to do that. They need to have an apartment. They need to have a house. They need to have some place. And so they become attached. And it's proper. They should be attached. Otherwise, the children will be spoiled. We see that where the women don't care for their children, what's the result? The whole society goes to hell. That was one of the arguments given by Arjuna in the first chapter. If the men are killed, then the women will be left unprotected. And then from unprotected women, the degradation will come to the society. So the idea is that women need to be protected. This is one of the principles of the Vedic culture. So in order to be protected, they have to agree, yes, let me agree to be protected. Otherwise, nobody can protect you. If the lady says to her husband, I want to go out to the discotheque tonight, some of my girlfriends are coming, well, I'll be back at 2 a.m, then who can protect her? Because why? Why does she need protection? Because she's more vulnerable. She can be raped. She can be abused. She can be insulted. Like Draupadi was attempt to insult her and see her naked. So the women should accept that position. Yes, let me be protected by my father, by my husband, by my grown-up sons. Like Kunti, she was protected by her sons. She didn't think, now I'm a free woman, I can just do whatever I like. She understood that I need protection because I'm weaker, more vulnerable, and more tendency to be self-centered because this is nature's arrangement. She has to think like that. Otherwise, the children won't be protected. I don't know if that helps, but that's ours is a little patriarchal society, and that's what's being rallied against here in America, especially by the bold women. But we don't think it makes the women any happier to be so independent and to be competing with men at every step. Rather, we find in India still the culture is there, and the women are more happy to be under the protection of their husbands and so on. Any more comments, Sanjay?
Yeah, it also depends upon the society it was at that time, because it describes therefore devotional service and the guidance of pure devotees are so strong that there is no discrimination between the lower and higher classes of men. So there was a classes at that time. So like even if we see the Wimbledon or any movies of 50 years back, so even here, like they used to cover the whole body or playing Wimbledon with the long skirts and all. So I mean, it's nothing about the higher or lower classes, but at that time society was like that. So he was saying like, I mean, one can jump from one class to another class, but as such there is no boundary between any souls. Anyone can be anything.
I have a comment to make as well.
If we come to the platform of the soul, yes, there's no difference. Woman's body, man's body, the soul is a particle of Krishna. It's eternal. It's a very fragmented particle. But then when we want to come to the society, we should make distinction. We make a distinction between our children, right? That why do we take care of our children? Because they need to be taken care of. Why not say the children are all can just take care of themselves? No, we see that they're weaker. They need protection. Therefore, the Kshatriyas, especially, they take care of those who are vulnerable, like the older people, and women and children. They're considered to be in need of protection. Now, yes, some women can get on fine without any protection, but what's the result? Are they happy? Even I was reading in Psychology Today, some latest. They find that if they do follow up on the women when they're 60 years old, they've been in business, very successful, but they're not happy because they have no grandchildren, because they were dedicated to their work. And then what are they left with? A dog that they pat every night. But our experience is the women like children and grandchildren, isn't it? What do you think, Maggie?
But some women, they protect men too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know if it's applicable in all cases, because, especially nowadays when, gender roles are reversed and, women are working and doing a lot of things that men do, and men stay home, and So some of it's a kind of a fuzzy line, in today's society in some situations.
Like nowadays we see like in a couple, in a husband and wife, we always discuss like, I mean, it's not necessarily by the gender, one is husband, one is wife. Roles are reversed also. Like, I mean, some wives, they play more as a role as a husband plays a role as a wife.
Can I make a comment?
Please do.
Yeah, the real point of things in this, the context of the conversation Krishna's having with Arjuna. In Varnashram society, spiritual matters were usually only trusted to Brahmin class. And then they had this thing, twice born, where they get Brahmin threads. So that was only Brahmin class, Kshatriya class, Vaishya class. And then you can see all across the world, just like in Catholicism a few decades ago, only the priests could read the Bible. The Bible was in Latin. Normal people, they weren't allowed to approach the subject. So Krishna's clarifying already 5,000 years ago, no to all these things. It's not only the Brahmins, it's not only the top of the class that gets to enter into this atmosphere of spiritual life and engage in bhakti. It's for everybody. So he's clarifying, it's not only the Brahmins, it's not only the Kshatriyas, it's not only the merchants. They go, even the merchants, even the workers, even the ladies. Because even, it's 2020, there's still going to be places where you can hear that, no, women, they cannot enter into the subject of spiritual understanding. So Krishna's saying no from 5,000 years ago, even the ladies. So this is how I understand this verse.
That's part of the understanding. But the full understanding is that women still have to be protected. I don't care. They may be very dominant, but I'll give you an example. This question came to Srila Prabhupada. Women want equal rights. And Prabhupada said, our women are not asking for equal rights. They're not asking me, let me go and open a center in Japan. But we were going, as sannyasis, we were going and opening centers in all parts of the world. Are you going to send your daughter to Egypt and open a center and preach Krishna consciousness? No, why not? Because she'll be raped. So there's a distinction. I mean, you can make it okay, everything is the same, but there's also a distinction. And the Vedic culture is, we care more for our women. I feel I have more affection for the women than the so-called liberals who think that women is equal with me, because we understand that they need protection. Now, sure, the wife protects the husband, especially she can protect him from becoming promiscuous and going to prostitutes and so on, and then becoming degraded. So a wife is required. She does protect her husband in that way. But I'm sorry, I just don't believe that. Just like in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, were there any women out on the battlefield? Why not? You want equal rights? Then put them in the front. No, that's not the culture. The culture is the women don't come in the front when there's a fight. That's the Kshatriyas. They're the ones who should come. When there's a trouble, they should come in the front. Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm going to take rest. Thank you all for...
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
We're on for Sunday morning, right, Sanjay?
Yes, we are.
9:30.
9:30 on Sunday, yes. So we'll start a different chapter, or we'll continue to this one, Wednesday.
That's a good question. I think we can continue with this.
What if somebody will miss on Sunday? Can we do a different, that one we can start from 6th chapter?
Okay, we could. Okay. Let's start from 7th chapter then.
Okay.
Because, okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.